Angelo Heddington and Elizabeth Radavsky, two country kids in love.
He seemed more fawning over her than anything.
Their whirlwind romance is followed by a shotgun wedding.
She seemed very happy, so that's great.
But their union is built on layers of lies and escalating violence.
The story was, it was extraordinary on so many levels, right? I'm thinking, this is a movie.
I was never really exposed to how evil people could actually be.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. Glencoe, Ontario. This is horse country. Elizabeth Radavsky has always lived here and has always loved the country lifestyle.
I'm a country bum, grew up on a farm. I loved going out and just taking care of the animals, and I helped doing hay. I had a little 410 shotgun that was given to me by my dad.
She liked to raise rabbits and just a little bit of everything. One time she had a pet pig, and she babied that little piggy, and it got big.
More than anything else, Elizabeth loves to ride horses.
I love the horses. They just seem to understand me.
Glencoe is paradise for horse lovers, and as just about everyone will tell you, a tight-knit community. Kelly Dupont is a local horse boarder.
Most people are related to each other. I did find that. And a lot of good people, though.
In 2002, Elizabeth is 26. She works part-time selling dog licensing tags outside of Glencoe, a small Canadian farming village just north of Lake Erie.
You just needed to go from farm to farm throughout the whole township, basically just have people buy dog licenses.
The job is a good fit for easygoing Elizabeth.
Oh, she trusted everybody.
I don't pass judgment on people.
Oh, everybody knows everybody for sure. Not too much gets away without everybody knowing what the next door neighbor's doing.
Elizabeth lives with her boyfriend, Andy. They've been together 6 years. But unlike Elizabeth, Andy's not into horses.
I would always ride by myself. I know it was very dangerous to ride by myself, but if you have nobody to go with you, you just go do it.
Elizabeth is about to meet a stranger who shares her passion.
Oh, there was rumors regarding a lone rider that was out riding. We didn't know who it was.
Yeah, basically he came into town and rode into town and nobody knew him. Like, who's that guy? So
That guy turns out to be Angelo Heddington. Elizabeth meets him when she pulls into a farm just outside town. Angelo has a job as a farmhand at Rhine Minima's farm.
I think he was working for Minima, and then he got injured.
Angelo doesn't have any cash to pay for his dog's license. He explains he fell off a fence and won't be able to work again until his leg recovers. Elizabeth agrees to collect the money from him later. Their conversation quickly turns from dogs to horses.
He says, oh yeah, he has a horse, and oh, where's your horse? And oh, he's in the barn. That was my first visit.
Relationship expert Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell see loneliness as a key part of this instant attraction.
There's always something attractive about the mysterious stranger riding into town, and I think that's part of what happened with Elizabeth and Angelo.
The connection on the horses, I think, is more than superficial.
The fact that Angelo is injured makes him appear vulnerable. And it really plays to something in a young woman because she thinks maybe she can help him.
A lot of women have a nurturing, motherly kind of instinct. And when somebody seems needy, injured, whether it's emotionally and or physically, it can sort of trigger that.
I think the horse was probably the biggest thing, that she found someone, a man that likes horses and had a horse.
Elizabeth's connection with Angelo grows stronger when she meets his horse, Excel.
In meeting Excel for the first time, he was a very gentle horse. He had a very soft eye. In being an animal lover, you can always judge an owner by the way the animal acts. I took from that he showed that he cared so much about his animals that he would care about people just as much.
Angelo tells Elizabeth how, as a teenager, he gave volunteer riding lessons to people with disabilities. She's thoroughly charmed.
Talked a bit about my horse. He was a flea-bitten Appaloosa.
They swap stories about learning to ride and the times they've been bucked.
Every time I talked about my horse and I had a story about something that had happened to my horse, he would always give me a story, something relating. We had a lot of common issues, common adventures.
Soon, they're calling each other Ange and Liz, and the conversation turns personal.
He had said that he was married before, and he was just trying to move on, and I had told him that I had a boyfriend at the time, and Andy wasn't a horse lover.
Elizabeth confesses to Angelo her relationship with Andy has reached a dead end.
I think it's easy sometimes for people in long-term relationships who get unhappy or get bored for some reason to run into somebody else and feel a much stronger connection than they really should feel because the other person reflects precisely the thing that they're unhappy about in their current relationship.
There is this really strong connection in and around horses, and that is something that is missing in her relationship with her current boyfriend.
Over the next 3 months, Elizabeth and Angelo spend more and more time together.
I showed him a couple of my spots just to go down and sit and look at the water, and well, that's the types of things I like to do.
They went riding and did things, and she seemed very happy, so that's great.
Angelo joins Elizabeth when she's out dog tagging.
I had asked Andy many times to just come out with me, just dog tagging, and he would never do that for me. So it was really nice that Ange wanted to spend the time with me, and to me that meant a lot.
The closer Elizabeth grows to Angelo, the further she drifts from Andy.
I just needed a way to get out.
In April, Elizabeth moves out of Andy's and into Angelo's.
He had this great big house, and it was just him there that I was more than welcome to move in, and I was hoping this would be a good fresh start.
Elizabeth even moves her horse, Owen, into the stable next to Angelo's horse.
I jumped in.
He seemed really nice and sweet. You know, he seemed more fawning over her than anything.
Tom Rudavsky is accepting.
She really didn't say anything to me. Just one day she's living with her other boyfriend, and then she's moved out and moved in with Angelo. I liked her other boyfriend, but it's not what I like. It's, if she's happy, that's the way it is.
It's really concerning to me how quickly Elizabeth has fallen for Angelo, left her boyfriend, and subsequently moved in with Angelo. It's almost as if she has put him up on a pedestal that he will inevitably fall from.
When one person sort of mirrors the other and has a reflective response for the things that the first person says, it can indicate the presence of a connection. When the relationship is healthy, That's what it does indicate. It can also indicate manipulation if some of the reflected responses aren't genuine.
Oftentimes, a great way to lure a person in is to pretend that you have the same interests.
When Elizabeth returns to her seasonal job as a cashier at a slaughterhouse, her boss, Alma, finds her happier than ever. And it doesn't take long before she meets Elizabeth's new beau.
One day he would come in and say, well, I bought her earrings, and Elizabeth would be wearing her earrings. And the next day would come in, you know, like, I bought her a ring, and Elizabeth would have a ring on her finger.
But not everyone is as keen on Angelo. Nelson Billier buys and sells horses and has had dealings with Angelo on his travels.
Well, he'd stand there with his hands in his pocket like this and stand just like he was a macho guy. Very deep voice, full of BS.
Nelson doesn't think much of the new couple either.
She maybe had to be an idiot to be living with somebody like this. I don't spare the words, and that was just what went through my mind, thinking, what in hell is going on here?
But for the most part, friends and family wish them all the best.
I tease her about because she's a cute girl and she could do better. But then again, love is blind.
But happiness is not in the cards for Angelo and Elizabeth.
When they were first together, he was so nice to her. And then all of a sudden it was just like so nasty.
Elizabeth Rudavsky leaves Andy, her boyfriend of 6 years, and moves in with Angelo, a mysterious farmhand who recently moved to the small village of Glencoe, Ontario. By April 2002, Angelo and Elizabeth are spending almost all their time together. But cracks in their relationship are starting to show. Angelo is more and more possessive.
If she was anywhere near me, he would be within 5-10 feet, always within listening distance.
Angelo accompanies Elizabeth to work every day and stays for her entire shift.
The only thing I knew, all of a sudden, he was in the picture. He would wait till lunch in my coffee room and sit there and never leave.
At first, Alma chalks it up to the folly of youth.
One time they came with the same kind of shirt. So I thought, well, that is kind of cute. They might really like each other, you know?
But then she notices Elizabeth is losing weight. And when she compliments her about it, Angelo is the one who replies, saying he wants his girlfriend nice and thin. Reporter Jennifer O'Brien says that in spite of his baby face, Angelo's known as a tough guy.
He was real gruff, kind of spoke from the stomach, would, do things like kind of, macho things, like spit while he was speaking to someone, and talk kind of crude, and he had his hands in his pockets all the time, and he was playing with himself.
Angelo's behavior seems to be a little bit dichotomous because on the one side, Angelo seems to be really trying to project a lot of what we might call kind of rough masculinity. On the other side, Angelo seems to be trying to project a lot of sensitivity. And when people's behavior is dichotomous like that, it suggests to me as a psychologist that perhaps there's some chameleon-like phenomenon in play.
There are really two sides to Angelo. And it's really common for women to be attracted to that. They want the bad boy on the outside who appears soft on the inside.
When Elizabeth's dad, Tom Rudavsky, meets Angelo in person for the first time, he notices a change in his daughter's behavior.
He sat on the couch, and he made Elizabeth sit there, straight up, knees together, and hands on her legs. And he said, "You sit straight." And right from that day on, I knew there was going to be a problem.
I just sat there with my hands in my lap and looked pretty. He had come up with different ways to control me. I needed to act like a lady. I needed to dress like a lady. Okay, I was willing to do that for someone that showed me that they appreciated it.
The girl who used to be more of a tomboy is now dressing in floral dresses. And I think that this is legitimately concerning. Something has changed in her. Somehow she's being influenced.
Well, I think to the extent that Elizabeth is the one who seems to be making the changes and the sacrifices, it suggests that she is in the one-down position. She's the one who has less power in the relationship. She's the one who's acquiescing to.
Over time, people start to notice strange injuries on Elizabeth, and when questioned, there's always a plausible explanation.
Liz came to the house one day and she had this big black eye, and I was questioning her about it, and she said, "Oh, it's the horse."
I think the last time they showed up, I believe Elizabeth had a black eye. I know my wife asked her what had happened, and Elizabeth had told her that she ran into a trailer door.
At work, Elizabeth's boss, Alma, finds Angelo's presence less charming and more menacing.
I look at her hands, and she have a, all over her hands, blisters. To me, it looks like a burns. I said, "What happened over there?" And Angelo jumped in right away. Oh, she fell off the horse, and she landed in a poison ivy with both hands.
After a few months, Angelo's presence in the lunchroom has become such a nuisance that Alma's son asks him to leave.
He said, "Angelo, I have you enough. Go out. Go come back at 5 o'clock and pick her up."
Angelo doesn't leave. He simply plants himself in front of the shop.
But he never listened. Then he was sitting on a parking lot.
When asked to leave the premises, he crosses the highway and watches Elizabeth work from across the road.
Facing, that he can see everything through the window what is happening, and sit there until Elizabeth was done.
The fact that Angelo is continuously showing up and spending long periods of time at Elizabeth's work does not necessarily portend some kind of disaster, but I do think it portends dysfunction in the relationship because it either reflects an unhealthy degree of dependency on Angelo's part, or it portends an effort to isolate Elizabeth even in her own workplace. In other words, to prevent her from having the opportunity to interact with others outside of Angelo's watchful eye.
It's a predatory behavior. It's somebody who is lurking in the shadows waiting for who knows what. It looks like he is not giving her space to have a life. And it also makes me think that he has nothing to do. Doesn't he have anywhere else that he needs to go?
There are different accounts of what happens next. Alma says Elizabeth up and quit.
She just said, "Alma, I better quit." That's it. And she did not give me the reason why.
Kelly Dupont says Elizabeth is fired.
You can't have an employee where someone's sitting outside and waiting. It's really quite creepy to them.
Everyone agrees that Angelo's presence is to blame. Around the same time, Elizabeth also loses her dog tagging job.
She lost 2 jobs because her partner was outside, stalking her basically.
Then, in June, the couple is kicked off the farm for not paying rent. Elizabeth's brother Tommy tells their father that Elizabeth shows signs of domestic abuse.
He was telling me that he's seen Elizabeth with bruise on her face.
Tommy also finds a leather riding crop hidden inside a cushioned chair, the kind used to discipline horses. Angelo tells Tommy he's kinky, suggesting a different, more sinister use of the whip.
I never seen Elizabeth with any injuries at that time, and it's just from what my sons told me.
Out of the blue, Elizabeth asks her brother to take her guns away, but doesn't say exactly why.
I think I just told him that the guns need to go. that it's not a lady thing to do, that they just need to go.
In town and at the barn, tongues start to wag. Everything about this relationship starts to feel wrong. Nelson, who's known Angelo for a long time, expresses his concerns to Kelly.
You know what, really be careful around that one, because, yeah, he's sort of a scammer and a con man, and that she was sort of in danger, really.
In a way, we felt sorry for her. But it's not our duty to walk up to somebody and say, hey.
Concern grows when Elizabeth holds a yard sale in a pasture on No. 2 Highway.
I drove by and there's a big yard sale. So I stopped and there's all this great stuff, like long rider coats and saddles and blankets and bridles. I mean, nice stuff. So I stopped and bought a few things, but I said to Liz, I said, why are you selling all your stuff?
Elizabeth says she needs the money. Kelly wonders why Angelo isn't selling his stuff too. Among the items for sale, Elizabeth's first saddle.
I remember it had my initials on it. I oiled it all the time, and it was really hard to sell that saddle.
And her horse, Owen, which Nelson gladly trades for a much cheaper horse.
He was a very nice horse. I cannot tell you where I sold him, but it was a very good horse deal for me. And you think, why is somebody doing this?
So here we have Elizabeth, who is having this yard sale and selling off possessions that are near and dear to her, and Angelo is not. What this says to me is not only has she now been isolated from work and family and friends, but she's starting to sell off her possessions. So what is going to be left of Elizabeth? What, in terms of her identity, is she going to still have?
We have to keep in mind that love is sort of the great blinder, and that she may have felt at the time that she was sort of willingly doing what she needed to do, because at that point it was she and Angelo against the world.
The couple soon finds a new place in Ridgetown, 40 miles away from everyone they know.
So they move away, like they keep moving.
We sort of have increasing isolation from those to whom she's always looked for social support. All of those are indicators of an isolative process that can be dangerous, and it can indicate an underlying pattern of control that can become abusive very easily.
I think that friends and family should be gravely concerned at this point. Everything that Elizabeth stood for, the way she dressed, her horse, they're all gone. And she's now dedicated her entire life to one person.
But soon, her loved ones will get big news. News that might just explain the couple's odd behavior.
She was pretty excited about being pregnant.
After losing 2 jobs, the roof over their heads, and having to move, it looks like Elizabeth and Angelo's relationship is on the rocks. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the couple, who have only known each other for 4 months, hosts a garden party at Elizabeth's mother's house in order to make an important announcement.
It was a beautiful day out. It was a good day.
I was shocked. I was shocked to learn that they had gotten married.
But there's even bigger news. Elizabeth announces she's pregnant, and Angelo is the proud father-to-be.
You just congratulate her, and like that's all you can do.
I hug her and I said, oh my gosh, you know, you won't be sorry. So I was happy for her.
They were very happy for me. They, of course, wanted to know when I was due and if I had picked out any names, and they were all excited for me, and they talked about, well, that was so out of my character, considering I never wanted to have kids.
But one thing outshines Elizabeth's smile at the party.
I just laughed and thought, what a joke that is.
It bothered me trying to explain to everyone how I could be pregnant and how I was so happy when I had a big black eye. I knew how to pull the wool over people's eyes. It was one thing that Ange taught me how to do.
She'd say, oh, I fell down, or the horse kicked her, or the horse bit her, or the horse knocked her with her head.
After the party, people see less of Elizabeth and Angelo. When they do, it's more bruises and more stories.
We had a big 2-horse trailer, and Angelo wanted to borrow it. He sent her to go and clean the bees out of the horse trailer. And she was like trying to swatting at all these bees, but being that she was pregnant, I mean, it would have been insane for her to go clean it out. So I think it was my husband that finally said to him, get your butt back there and clean that trailer out. What are you doing?
The stories that you heard, you figured that there's something up.
Tom tries to give his daughter a way out.
One night she called me up and I could tell, like in her voice, that there was something wrong. And I asked her. I said, is he hitting you? And she wouldn't say. So I said to her, you tell me. Because I'm only a short distance away, but nothing ever come out.
Elizabeth doesn't take her father up on his offer to help. And things only get worse. In August, Elizabeth is admitted to the hospital with life-threatening injuries.
I didn't think I was going to make it. I just chalked it up as I'm dead.
She is treated for bruising, swelling, a collapsed lung, and vaginal lacerations.
I was basically bleeding to death.
Elizabeth is given 7 units of blood. There are 12 in the average adult body. She tells doctors she was in a horseback riding accident.
Because of where my injury was, I told them that the horse had bucked and I had come down and landed on the saddle horn. And thus be why I had such a very large cut down there.
It seems completely inconceivable to me that the injuries that Elizabeth had at this point were adequately, reasonably, believably explained away by having fallen on a saddle horn.
Clearly, the abuse is getting more intense. That said, even the best counselor or hospital professional, they can lead that horse to water, but they can't make her drink. And so they can give her the tools, they can talk to her about leaving, but she's an adult, and if she wants to stay in that situation, she gets to stay in that situation.
Ange would not leave my side when I was at the hospital. He wouldn't let the doctors or the nurses talk to me by myself. I kept telling the doctors that I wanted to go home.
But back home, Elizabeth drops more bad news on her family.
That she had a miscarriage and she had lost the baby.
In September, less than 7 months into their relationship, Elizabeth and Angelo move again. This time to a house in Chatham, more than an hour's drive away.
He definitely had her move down to Chatham to keep her away from family and friends, I think.
When they moved to Chatham, I could not reach her anymore.
I never really seen her much after that.
Alma's nervous that Elizabeth isn't taking her calls. She phones Elizabeth's mother, Sandy Rudavsky.
Well, her mother didn't say very much. She said, oh, I hardly see her. That was her answer. You know, like, they don't come around that often anymore. Like, I hope she's all right.
Each step that we moved further and further away. I was slowly getting cut off from my family. In the process of moving further and further from home, it made it more and more difficult to see them, to be able just to take off and go for a visit.
I don't think anybody knew how bad it really was.
I think what we're seeing here is a classic pattern of progressive isolation. Escalating, isolating, very typical in situations like this.
Elizabeth is saying that everything is fine, everything's great in their relationship, that she's afraid if she tells people what's really happening, that Angelo might hurt her more.
There's a giant elephant in the room, and nobody is wanting to acknowledge that it's there.
Then, on September 21st, Chatham police get an urgent call. There's been a stabbing at the couple's new address. Only this time, Angelo's in trouble.
He was laying on the front step when the police arrived.
Elizabeth tells police a burglar broke in. Angelo went to the door and was attacked. With Angelo in critical condition, Elizabeth braces for the worst.
We always thought we should have told her, but then if you told her, does she snap then, or does she know what she's married to? We thought maybe she knew what she was married to.
Angelo Heddington is stabbed in the early morning hours of September 21st, 2002. He's rushed to the hospital.
I kept saying to Ange that he'll be okay, everything will be okay. And then, as I was being pulled away, I heard Ange say, "It was my wife." I had Ange's blood all over me. They wouldn't let me wash.
Elizabeth is taken into custody for further interrogation. The next day, the police tell Elizabeth that her husband has just been pronounced dead.
It had said that Ange had passed away. And that I was officially charged with first-degree murder.
What the detective says next is even more shocking. He tells her the name of her deceased husband is not Angelo.
The detective referred to Angelo as Angela. And I kept saying, no, his name is Angelo. And he asked me if I understood exactly what was going on. Ange was a girl.
The paramedics made an observation which led them to believe that the person who they believed was a male person was in fact a female person.
On their way to the hospital, the paramedics discovered a prosthetic penis under Angelo's clothes.
The police came to the door and said, "We have to talk to you. It's about your daughter." And there's something else, like, he is not a he, he's a she.
The story is everywhere, and Angelo's secret is the talk of the town.
How do you keep something like that quiet?
My son showed me the newspaper. I said, no, it cannot be.
People were quite shocked to find out that Angelo was a woman.
Not everyone is surprised, though. Horse dealer Nelson Billier says years before, he first knew Angelo as Angela.
A bunch of us were sitting around drinking beer, and she wandered up. And you can imagine guys about half drunk, and this thing walks up and lets on to us it's a guy. She was dressed like a guy, she acted like a guy, but she had earrings on. And I said to her, "Why would you wear earrings like that to the Western Fair?" And she says, "I am a girl."
Nelson had tried to tell people about Angelo, but nobody believed him.
And I told Kelly, I said, you realize those are two girls.
I'm thinking, well, she's pregnant. There's no way. That's obviously a man.
Police struggle to understand how Elizabeth could have had an intimate relationship without knowing Angelo's biological sex. Elizabeth tells them what Angelo told her.
an ex-girlfriend got mad at him and burnt his genitals. And that's why he wasn't as a normal male. I never seen nothing. Things were dark. I never passed judgment. There's more to love than just sex. I thought I was in love.
I think it's completely possible that Elizabeth believed Angelo's story and then decided to respect his wishes and not touch him physically, because Elizabeth was so passive when it came to him. He had so much control over her that it would make sense that he had control in the world, he would have control in the bedroom as well.
In custody, Elizabeth quickly admits to killing Angelo. But she says she acted in self-defense.
It's like everybody else. If you're pushed to the limit, people protect themselves.
Her account of her 7-month relationship with Angelo is harrowing. The beatings began within a week of moving in with him.
I took one heck of a beating.
Soon, Angelo punishes Elizabeth for offenses such as making her meal portions too large.
Well, I tried to make it as even as possible, so then he would start taking food off my plate. Well, you're trying to lose weight, so you don't need all this food. The more I tried to fight back, the harder the beatings got, the more creative he got.
Elizabeth reveals the real reason she asked her brother to take her guns away. She feared for her life.
He had cocked the gun and pointed it right at my head and said, "Do you want me to pull the trigger and see if there's something in there?" As I'm looking down the barrel of my own gun.
And when she was hospitalized, she didn't fall on the saddle horn. She was violated with a metal pipe.
I was actually very shocked when Ange had put me in the truck to take me to the hospital. I figured I was just gonna be thrown in a ditch somewhere on the side of the road.
Police don't yet know if Elizabeth's claims are true, but it's clear the young woman is in rough shape.
There was a lot of physical features about her that supported the fact that she was being abused.
Elizabeth spends her 27th birthday in custody in Sarnia Prison. Dr. Peter G. Jaffe, an expert on domestic abuse, is brought in by Elizabeth's lawyer to assess her mental state.
I think what was unique about Elizabeth is the fact that she wasn't thinking about herself and whether she'd spent her life in jail. Her thinking was really all about Angelo and Angelo's family and what she had done.
In their sessions, Elizabeth reveals another truth to Dr. Jaffe. She isn't legally married.
It was very hard lying to my family. That was the biggest thing that hurt so much, because I have always been a very honest person.
She was never pregnant either.
I knew right off the bat that it was a bad thing to lie and say I was pregnant, and it hurt me more than people realize. But I also tried to let them know that I was doing what I needed to do at that time.
In the meantime, police learn Angelo has a dark history of violence. He stalked, beat, and starved at least 4 previous partners.
There was physical assaults. There was threats of violence. In each case, there was a lot of dramatic weight loss by the partners.
Actually, their stories are very similar to Elizabeth. Most abusers will have a series of victims in their lives. It's rarely one victim.
I always wondered why some of these women hadn't decked her or picked up a baseball bat or something.
The stories are difficult for Angelo's family to hear. Journalist Jennifer O'Brien interviews his mother, Marlene Heddington, at length.
Marlene wanted people to know that Angelo wasn't always a monster and wasn't just evil to the core kind of thing. She was a tomboy, but a happy kid. Marlene said, you know, Angelo would be the first person to help you out of a ditch if you were stuck in a ditch.
But according to Marlene Heddington, everything changed when Angela turned 14. She dropped out of school, found work as a farmhand, dressed as a guy, and answered only to Angelo.
She started saying, I am a boy, and this is a man's world, and I'm a man, I'm not a girl, I don't want to be a girl.
Could Angelo's behavior result from the traumatic experience of growing up as a trans person?
He hates femaleness. He hates female bodies, that intense loathing of female bodies, which for me has to come out of that experience as a 14 or 15-year-old trans person in the environment that he's in. On the one hand, wanting Elizabeth to be more feminine and beating her up because she isn't. And on the other hand, doing everything he can to damage and scar her femaleness, her physical femaleness.
Gender dysphoria does not entitle you to defraud another person, to be dishonest with another person, to basically use another person to help you resolve your issue.
In a relationship, honesty is literally the foundation of success. And so the fact that he wasn't able to tell her the truth tells me that there may be other reasons and other things that weren't real about him.
Angelo made references to Elizabeth about, his sister Angela that had been sexually assaulted and was struggling with, her own sexuality in the aftermath. So one could speculate that Angelo was really two people. There was an Angela that was a vulnerable victim of something terrible that happened when she was younger, and then there was an Angelo who was the male, aggressor, perpetrator, trying to compensate, or deal with the trauma that she had suffered earlier.
Whatever the origin of the violence she was victim of, it finally pushed Elizabeth over the edge. The details will soon be revealed in court.
Everything was still quiet, and then all of a sudden, he attacked me and started coming at me.
Elizabeth Rudavsky is in custody after stabbing her partner, Angelo Heddington. After his death, police learn Angelo is really Angela, a woman living as a man. The court proceeding in April 2003 is only a day long.
There had been murders and there had been abuse cases, but nothing like this. I'm thinking, this is a movie.
For the first time, the public learns how Angelo was really killed. It starts when Angelo threatens the life of Elizabeth's 8-year-old niece.
We had a bit of an episode where he just argued with me, and we just argued back and forth. I was finally standing up for myself and telling him that I've had enough. I can't take this no more. I'm done. I just want out. He said that he would have my niece's head brought to me on a platter in the morning. And I was very confused on why he would harm a defenseless child in all this, that she had nothing to do with this. Just leave her alone. And he said no. He says to me, well, I think I'm gonna kill you and deal with your body in the morning. And then all of a sudden, he attacked me and started coming at me. Started grabbing me by the throat. I fought back.
She manages, for the first time, to escape. But Angelo catches up before Elizabeth can break free.
I don't remember doing any of this. It was like I was watching a movie. I just remember him saying, "You stabbed me."
Police say the evidence supports Elizabeth's version of events and her allegations of abuse.
We seized a vacuum cleaner pipe. There was DNA that we were able to extract from that pipe that supported allegations that Elizabeth had made.
I told the truth. It felt so good to finally get it out.
The court also hears a summary of Dr. Jaffe's report on her psychological state and why she couldn't leave Angelo.
Most people think, well, I could never be in that situation, give me, show me a crack in the door, I'm out of there so fast. But that's not the reality. Part of abuse is taking somebody down a very dark highway. So if an abuser gets a victim to tell one lie, then you're part of the scam. Then you feel even more trapped.
Elizabeth says her mental state also kept her from asking questions about Angelo's sexuality.
I'm not naive. I guess deep down I did know Angelo wasn't Angela. When you're put in certain circumstances and you're told and forced to believe certain things, your mind goes into a defense mode. You just learn to overlook people's flaws. You just learn to take things in stride, go with the flow, don't ask questions. People are who they are.
Defense mechanisms are very powerful things. You can truly convince yourself that what you think you're seeing, you're not. But I also think it might have been embarrassing for her. She might not want to have admitted that she maybe made a mistake and believed that Angelo was a man when he was genetically a woman.
I think Elizabeth probably loved Angelo, at least at the beginning. And it's hard to really know if Angelo loved Elizabeth as a person or loved the representation that Elizabeth provided of what Angelo wanted to be.
I don't think that Angelo is just a mean, evil person. I think that Angelo is deeply disturbed and doesn't know how to deal with his emotions, and he acts out because of it.
I think Angelo was a mean, evil person who was also disturbed.
There's another dimension here which I think was unique in the sense that Angelo was threatening not only to harm her, but also harm a niece of hers and, or harm her parents. So in that way, you're totally captive, because even if you can seek freedom, you might be endangering somebody else who you love.
I'm not one to call people's bluffs. Do you want to play Russian roulette with your family's lives? I didn't want to.
I don't think it was wrong that Elizabeth stabbed him. At the time of the stabbing, Elizabeth feared for her life.
I think Elizabeth is very lucky to be alive today. Who knows what Angelo might have done had she not killed him.
The judge, Crown prosecutors, and police investigators agree Elizabeth Rudavsky acted in self-defense when she killed Angelo Heddington.
The only difference between women who kill and women who don't is the severity of the abuse that somebody's facing. The more severe the abuse, the more sexual abuse, the more threats to somebody's life, the more likely somebody is to kill ultimately in self-defense.
The murder charge against Elizabeth is dropped. Angelo's parents are said to support this decision.
Angela had lost her life as a result of being stabbed, and she has family, and they were deeply affected by that. But we could not ignore the fact that this was a very abusive relationship.
Marlene was quite emotional about it and very remorseful. She was remorseful, I think, over being unable to help her daughter. And also she was remorseful and regretful over not helping Elizabeth. She had said to me, she killed my daughter, but what other choice did she have?
10 years after these events, Elizabeth lives a normal life and has advice for other victims of domestic abuse.
As much as you think you're alone, you're not. It takes you to step up and say something if you're in danger.
I'm really glad that Elizabeth decided to tell her story, because I believe that she has been through a traumatic experience. And so it's my belief that her sharing what she went through is actually part of the process of getting better and not going through something like that again.
Obviously, one of the messages from what Elizabeth went through, it's a message to friends, family, neighbors, even co-workers, that victims need people to keep asking questions, to be supportive.
You know, I'm really feel bad about it that I did not see it coming with Elizabeth, what was going through.
I think I just felt so guilty about not being able to help her.
In 2007, Elizabeth gets married. Sadly, her husband Mike dies of a heart attack shortly after the birth of their son, Luke.
Luke is part of Mike. That's what she's living for.
She just lived for that little kid, you know?
I don't know how she can be so strong.
I always question, why did I make it through this? I believe it was for Mike and Luke. Don't get these tears wrong, I'm happy.